Hey, this is Therese, and I'm really excited to have a guest today. This is Deborah. Or do we go by Debbie or Deborah? Because your name is different on
Debbie's good.
Debbie. Perfect. Okay, Debbie Hoffman. And so I've just gotten to know Debbie, and oh my God, we're like, you're very cool. We're having almost really nice relationships. And in our connection, we both have the same story. We both have the like, and I lost everything. I had the breakdown story. And so I said, you got to come and do a Facebook Live with me. And so this episode, I really like this one because, having gone through my personal losses and breakdowns and bankruptcy and all that, what I know is that there's a lot of like heaviness in it, and you can literally carry it for years and years and years, and it can affect every aspect of your life. So today, I came up with a 5-step process for kind of how to walk through it. Because what I really, really, really want for you is to have hope. I really want you to understand you're not a freaking loser, right? Hello, join the club. Like many of us have had breakdowns, and it's very hard when you're in the middle of it. And so if this is for you, if you're in the middle of it, you called us in. If you're on the other side of it, celebrate with us, right? But that's the goal today. So Debbie, welcome. So glad you're here.
It's so good to be here. I'm really, really excited that we're doing this.
Yes, thank you. Well, I masquerade as a business coach who does transformation. I should say I masquerade as a business coach, but I really do transformation and lots of healing and helping my people just get really unleashed and create lives they love. So just, what's your title? And I hate even those words, but what do you do in your day job when you're not doing Facebook Lives with me?
Well, I'm a follow-up expert and coach. So I work with entrepreneurs who are letting those potential clients slip through the cracks because they don't have a system in place, and I help them create that system so they can convert more of those business cards into clients without being salesy. That's what I'm all about.
Perfect. You did a good job articulating that. I'm all like, I don't know, come on in, it'll be fun. Yeah. So I thought what we do is I thought we would just out ourselves. Part of my brand is transparency and authenticity. And what I feel like, years ago, I said, authenticity is the new black. Like, woohoo, nobody wants the Photoshop version of you. Nobody wants to like, I'm so perfect. I got all my shit together. You want to help people, you be real. You show your stuff. You talk about your failures. You talk about your lessons because you are here to give hope. So I'll just start. So I was married and we were like little kids. We were like little kids with money. The ex made a whole bunch of money. So we never had to manage it. We literally were like, whoa, just this, and I didn't learn in my family anything about money. We never talked about it. The man was the moneymaker. The mom worked a couple days, no big deal, kind of typical 50s, 60s, 70s family. So then said husband decided he didn't any longer want to be married to me. I know you're all shocked, but that happened. And so I walked out of my marriage in 2006 with like a bunch of money. And I also was doing fine in business. So I had a 6-figure lifestyle and income. Everything was fine. But I never learned how to dial it down. I never realized I'm kind of blowing through saving. I still lived as if we were making multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I was not, but I still lived that way. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is we all know what happened around 2008. Yeah, 2009. I got screwed in my house. Like the housing market went upside down. So the thing that was supposed to be my asset was just so the ex could no longer pay the alimony he was paying me. Clients were going away. So I went from, having $15,000 a month income and, with alimony income to making $700 a month. That was my lowest month. So what I had to do at that point was declare bankruptcy. I had a sports car at the time, got repossessed. That was a very hard day. It's a very weird thing when they drive up and they drive away with your car. It was very hard. The worst part was the pain of how I could still tap into the pain that my children had to experience watching, like losing their house, basically. So for me, there was so much shame connected to that because I'm like, I'm a business coach. I couldn't manage my money, but I was supposed to get you some, really? And so one part of my story, and we're going to go into more of the details of it, but one part of my story that was really, really pivotal was I was actually at my coach's retreat, and we were visioning for like, what's the next big thing? And I just burst into tears because I had so much shame. I just was like, I can't even, I went through bankruptcy. Like, really? Who's going to trust me? And a woman turned to me and said, actually, I would be more likely to hire you now because I know you won't judge me. I know you understand. And I know you would be, and it was, Debbie, it was so like, and so I literally, that moment, I came home from that retreat and I was like, okay, team, remember I said we're not launching? Yeah, we're doing a telesummit and it's called Breaking Down to Break Free. And so in 2006, 7, I think, I brought all these like 7-figure people together, 6 and 7-figure, and we all talked about our breakdown stories. And so I'm kind of doing a little mini version of that today, but that was mine, to go from literally unconsciousness, Cinderella, at life is easy street, to like losing every freaking thing. And so that was my story, and I bounced back. So I just want to hear your story, and then we're going to go to the teaching points. And if you're watching, thank you so much for being here. Put some comments if you relate. You know, I would love to. This is heartfelt stuff. Like this is us getting real for you, right? So glad you're here, and thank you. So Debbie, your story. I want to hear what's up in your world.
And Linda said so important with a heart. So thank you, Linda. This is so important. And I had a really hard time sharing this story at the beginning when I first started speaking and coaching. I was so, like you, embarrassed, humiliated, but now I just see what a difference it makes. And so it happened to me, very similar story. I hadn't heard your whole story before, but it's really incredible how similar. So I worked on Wall Street for 20 years, made a very high 6-figure income, managing director, 20 years, like right out of the gate, my early 20s, bought my first home, when I was 22. So again, money wasn't an issue. It was just there and we spent it. And then I decided to quit this 6-figure income to be at home with my family. I have a son. He was, 8 at the time. And my husband was a high-end custom home builder. And we had this big house on the market that was going to generate $1 million. So we were fine. Like I didn't have to work. And then 9/11 happened.
Right.
And the market crashed and we had to reduce the price by $1 million. So our profit was gone.
Oh, yeah.
And then we were living in a house that we had sold our home. We were living in a home that we were going to remodel, that we were remodeling to sell. And again, the real estate market crashed. And then we lost everything. They took the house, they took the car, like the whole thing. And it was devastating. Things got so bad for us that we had to file bankruptcy. So that solid foundation that we had built was like ripped out from under us. I was, like you, humiliated, embarrassed. Back then, people weren't talking about it.
No.
Nobody was talking about it. So I was very alone, and I was so depressed. I was in this really deep, dark hole, and I was a victim for many, many years. So that's kind of what happened. And then, like you, I rebuilt, and there's a whole long story to that. I found a coach. She helped me pull me out of that hole. And I started to rebuild and launch this business because of working with her. And I'm so grateful for the support that I got from her, because I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it wasn't for her.
Right. So that's the breakdown story, right? And so Leah says, I relate to the bankruptcy and the shame around money. Yeah, like that. There is so much of that stuff, right? So I'm just gonna share with you the five points of it, and we'll share our recovery stories, and we'll share like tips for you as well, because we really want to A, validate, B, take the shame away, and C, give you a little path, because this holy God, this is rough. So the first one is you accept what is. I think I'm a spiritual person, and it's very easy to do the bypass. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Somebody's going to save me. This can't be. I'll just be positive. And I think you get so traumatized. I know for me, I was not raised to be a person that walks away from houses. Like I was like, this is not who I am. And the mind fuck of that, because I'm like, wait, I do not pay my bills. And I tried really hard. There's some theories that it was set up for people to lose their homes according to big bank and whatever. But I tried, right? So Debbie, like for you, what was the journey of like accepting, like, holy shit, this is where we are, like, because that's not easy.
And I'm embarrassed to say, but I was a victim for a very
Exactly.
long
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah.
Very long time. So I wasn't accepting, and I was blaming. I was blaming my husband, and I was a big part of all the decisions. So I started taking responsibility, but it took a while for me to do that. And then I finally, I think right around the time that I started working with that coach, yeah, it was right around that time, I started, instead of focusing on what wasn't working,
Mhm.
and what was going wrong, I started to look forward into what I wanted to create. So I accepted what
Good.
is, like you
Good.
said,
Yeah.
and then started to focus all my attention. And it was a process, so it didn't
Yeah,
happen
it's not
overnight.
overnight, right? Yeah.
No, but it's like, what do I want? What do I want to have in my life? What do I want my life to be like? And that helped me get out of that hole I was in.
That's awesome. Yeah. But like, I love what you said. It is a process. It's not like, oh, boom, I've accepted, because you can accept it for a second and then just be pulled in the next day. Right. But just ask yourself, if you're in something, and it doesn't even have to be losing your house. It doesn't have to be bankruptcy. It could be, you have a sick child, or somebody wants to divorce you, or shit, I'm not making the money. Like whatever the thing is that you're dealing with, have you accepted it? And I will say, we have a thing, I call it the metaphysical mind fuck, and it is like, what did I do? And I think there is a part of, I think that like, I'll own, I was like a child with money. I paid no attention to it. That's on me. On me is that I was irresponsible. I didn't handle the whole housing crisis that befell the whole world, right? So there is the like, what's my part to accept versus, oh my God, I created all this and I'm a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Because you already feel bad enough. So, you hear both Debbie and I talk about the gifts in it. Well, you haven't heard me talk about it, but there's the gifts in it. We're going to talk about that. There's actually freaking gifts, but you cannot find any gifts. Like my clients, they love, well, I say that tongue in cheek, because they'll come to me like, and I'm like, and what's perfect about this? Yeah. At some point when you can begin to accept it, then you can go, okay, right? So step number one,
I want to share.
Accept it. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I share something?
Yeah.
It just came to me is I started thinking when the shift started to occur out of the victimhood is, okay, I wonder what silver lining, is going to come. I wonder what's going to come from this. I wonder what, why this is happening. I started asking. I didn't have the answer.
Very good.
But I started asking.
Good. Great tip.
And I got curious, and I'll share now later why it all happened, because it's very clear to me why it all happened.
That's cool. I got a little, the first time you lose a thing like a car or a house or all your credit, what I realized I'm just like, I got nothing to lose. Ha! I don't have to be the good girl worried about my credit score anymore. I don't have to like, oh God, what if I get a late payment? I'm like, fuck it. Like everything's good. I mean, it's kind of a weird, like, it's like, and I survived, right? So it's an interesting way. We try so hard, we hang on like, no. And then we just kind of, which leads to step 2 is surrender. So you accept, okay, this is a situation. And now how do I surrender to what this is? And that's a little bit, so acceptance is I'm accepting. Surrender is sort of letting yourself flow with the waters of this and what's going to happen. So talk about that, because that is a huge one. Maybe a little distinction from acceptance. And if you guys want to, if you're typing, if you got like, what's your deal with the difference between accepting and surrendering to it? Have you got anything on that one?
Yeah, well, what I was just sharing about starting to think about why this happened and what lesson was going to come from it, what good thing was going to come from it, that was part of the surrender. It's like, okay, we are where we are. This happened. I beat myself up a lot about it. Like, why did I agree to do this? And we should have done this and we should have done that and blah, blah, blah. But then once I just accepted what was, I surrendered. And it's like, okay, God, what's supposed to come from this? What's the silver lining? What's the lesson? What's the learning here? Like, why did this happen?
Yeah.
So it was part of that.
Yeah. It's really,
journey for me.
It gets you to that, like, this is, I use the term bow to it, right? Like, so we often fight things happening in our lives. And this is the place where you're like, this is here and I'm going to bow to it. Like, there's almost reverence for it. I'm not going to fight it. This is my path. I'm surrendering right now. This is happening. And you can, I think the worst part is when you're resisting it, when you're mind fucking, when you're judging, when you're, as opposed to, all right. And we're going to talk about some other steps. But the next one then is you manage your emotions. Oh, I didn't do a very good job with this one.
One quick thing.
Yeah.
What you resist persists. And the more I resisted, the worse it got.
Oh my God.
And I kept resisting, and I kept digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. I would have this to me was the darkest dark night of the soul. And I literally would lay in bed at night, and it was like, it wasn't devil angel, but I was so broken. I would lay there going, I can't go on. I can't go on. And this, I call it my fierce entrepreneurial part, was like, get up. And I'm like, I can't, get up. You know what I mean? And so this is a kind of funny story too. So I was at the point where, okay, I'm a business coach and I have a reputation, and I'm like, I guess I just got to go wait tables. I have to feed my kids. I have to be willing. So that was surrender to me, right? So I'm like, all right, this is the situation. What do I have to do? And here, this is a cute little anecdote. So I hike and I'm like, all right, God, I'm willing. And I email my ex-husband who was in the restaurant business. And I'm like, okay, I want you to start calling your restaurants. I'm going to get an interview, and I will go back to waiting tables to just give $1,000 a month to feed the kids. And I'm hiking and I'm like, all right. And I sprained my ankle, and I'm laying on the hiking trail going, what? So for me, I was laughing because I'm like, okay, I surrendered, but then Spirit was like, yeah, no, we got to sprain your ankle because you're really not supposed to be a waitress. But I got so willing to do whatever it took. Now that wasn't mine, that path, but that was surrender. Okay, I will do whatever I got to do. I will lose everything. See what I mean? So there's a piece in the surrender. That's the next piece. But along the way, there's managing your emotions. You want to talk about that, because that is like, that's a nightmare.
It was a nightmare because I was a nightmare to be around, because I was so depressed, and my friends, I can't believe my friends hung in with me. Yeah. There was actually one friend that didn't, and she came back, later, which was devastating too. But I was just a mess, and I was complaining all the time, and I was just, again, focusing so much on what wasn't working. So I did not do a good job at managing my emotions. But when I started to, again, it all kind of happened gradually, but then when I started to focus on what I wanted to create, it created endorphins in my body.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good.
Right? I started thinking about what I wanted, not what I didn't want. And so I started to create what I wanted, and then my emotions, everything improved. Everything started to turn around.
That's awesome. So for me, I was a wreck, could not function. And I had two women. One was my friend Molly Luffy, who is an expert at EFT. And so literally 3 times a week, she'd go, girl, get on the phone with me. And because I could not, and FYI, your physiology is really jacked up, right? It's just like this. So for me, having somebody just walk me through. Now remember, I was a therapist. I got all kinds of tools. They left the room. When you're in like what's called your lizard brain, when you are in trauma, you have no access to be able to like, oh, just think differently, focus on the good. You have to have somebody else help calm you down and get you centered until you can. So I had Molly doing EFT with me, and my beautiful local friend, Mitzi Linton, who's a minister. She'd literally call me every single day and said, can I pray with you? And she basically would say, you know what? I know you can't feel it, but we're going to call it good. We're going to bring in gratitude because we know it's done. We know it's done in God, And I'm like, yes, okay. And I'd hold it for 2 minutes and I'd lose it. And then I read the Joel Osteen book, It's Your Time, basically saying you don't even know when your blessing is coming. So I needed something from outside of me a lot to basically buoy me up. And that's the thing, is like, shame is going to be so prevalent. And here's the thing, what I know about shame, when it is in the darkness, it grows and festers. And I remember one time actually telling a woman like, and she's like, oh yeah, me too. And I was like, what? You mean I'm not the only loser, right? And so the more you can just out, when I have retreats, we have skeleton parties, like, yeah, dump them, because we bring the light and it lightens everything. So that's the way out, And Debbie, so I know you said you were kind of a victim and all over, but was there any relief for you? Was there any like part where you're like, oh yeah, that helped, or when I talked about it, and I'm so sorry you lost your friend. That's like a triple whammy, right?
Oh, she came back later, and we're doing it now, and she apologized, which was really cool.
Good.
So I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
The emotional part. How do you manage your emotions? For me, I couldn't, so I had to call in the cavalry until I could. So how did you manage the shame piece, or the anger piece, or the fear piece? Like, do you have anything on that you want to talk about?
Well, I reached out, for support too. I got help. I have friends who are very spiritual and very connected, and they just really helped me. But I think for several years I was just in it and didn't reach out.
Right.
Like I didn't even know what to do about it. But again, it was just whatever we think about, we create. And so the more I thought about the loss and the blame and the anger and all that, the worse it got. But when I just started turning it around, everything I started thinking more positively. And what this has been a process too over the last several years. When anything happens now, it's like, okay, how interesting. Like, if it's not what I wanted to happen, like, how interesting. I wonder what wonderful thing's going to come from this. So I started that practice back then in a little way. Now it's like very prevalent in my life, and it makes such a difference because there's good in everything.
Right.
And I knew there was something that was going to come from this that was going to be amazing. So to me, to have hope, the hope really helped me.
Good.
I didn't know the answers yet, but I knew something good was going to come from it.
So I didn't have any hope in the beginning because what happens is sometimes you just are in trauma. Literally, your brain is pumping out the chemicals. And so I have this theory that in the beginning, you cannot change your physiology. Like, you're so jacked up, so you have to do EFT or something physical, or do you know what I mean? And then when you're farther along, then you can move to the hope. Then you can move to like, wait, I can think differently. I can future think. So FYI, if you're going, but how come I can't think like Debbie? It's okay. You know what I mean? There's a continuum of when you're in like, fight or flight, your brain shuts down and there is no hope. And so, So what I want you to do is talk about it, because shame is the great lie. Shame is the thing that's like, you're the only one, and they're going to totally judge you, and nobody will hire you. And girl, really? But if you bring it to somebody and go, this is what I got, and they go, oh, it's okay, and you're still lovable, and you're going to be okay. That alone is like, screw you, shame. That's why I talk about this. And trust me, I'm like, yay, I went through bankruptcy, woohoo. That I didn't ever think that was going to be part of my story. That was not going to be that was not in the planning for, I think it'll be my inspiration message. But now, Debbie, what I say is, I got to go through bankruptcy. Not I had to go. I say, I got to go through bankruptcy. Exactly. I've helped a shit ton of women by my story.
Yeah. One thing that I did do that was,
go ahead, honey.
One of the things I did do was I thought when you're going through anything like that, you want to do those things that make you feel the best, that put you in that high frame of mind. And for me, like you mentioned, it's hiking, and I love to be out in nature. I love to be outside. I love to be swimming. I love to be biking. So I kept as active as I can to get the endorphins to kick in, just to help me. So you want to do those things that make you feel the best. And everyone's got those things are different for everybody. Well,
because it's really easy, like, just to pull your head under the covers and just, check out. And so sometimes you probably force yourself to get out there, but that's the key. Okay, so we've got accept what is, surrender to what's happening, manage your emotions, take the steps. That means for me, I had to call and go, all right, you can take my car. Boom. That means whatever the thing is, what Debbie was saying, what you resist persists. So sometimes it's just easier to go, all right, this is the path. I will move into that path, right? So you want to think about that? Because that's sometimes really hard. Lots of people fight. And I'll try to stay and I'll try to do it. Oops, we've lost you, Debbie. Debbie's off camera. Here. I lost my partner here.
Can you hear me?
Anyway, so what you want to do is you want to move in and take the steps. That's really, really, really imperative. And the very last piece, I hope Debbie can come back on. I don't know if you can hear
me?
us, Debbie.
I can hear you.
The very last piece is I want you to get support. Get support, get support, get support, get support. There is absolutely nothing more imperative than getting support. I don't know, some of us are lone rangers, some of us are like, oh, I don't want to talk about my, that is bullshit. Like, you are not wired, especially if you're a woman, you are not wired to do this alone. It literally takes a village. The only way I've gotten through anything in my life, and trust me, I was hard-headed. Like, life's like, oh, really? You sure? You sure? You sure? And so,
can you hear me?
Huh? Yes,
hear me?
You're back.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking about, Debbie, is the piece about getting support. So, for me, the support was, oh my God, I just asked everybody in the world. Like, I just, help me. I have to get a house. I have to move. I got coaching, and then I just started rebuilding. But seriously, the turning point was when I admitted it. When I admitted it, then shame had no hold on me. And then I think, I went from in 1 month, like $700 to the next 18 months later, like bringing in $22,000 that month, because I also got a new coach, and I'm just like, shoo. So it's so possible. So what for you? Like, talk about support. And you have such a great story. And so we're going to segue. This is how your business was built. Like, this is like, I love this. So talk about this part that you do and did, and this is kind of juicy.
Well, I mentioned briefly earlier that I was at a networking event, and I won the raffle for the speaker. She offered a one-hour coaching session, and I got incredible support from her. And she invited me to a live event that she was doing in LA, and I didn't even have the resources to do it. But I went, I figured it out. And at the event, she made this 5-figure offer, and I just checked out because I didn't have any resources. And I went up to her during a break, and I asked her a question, and she looked me straight in the eye, and she said, Debbie, I'm not going to answer that question, but you need to be in this program. And I sat fuming. She knows I don't have the money. She knows my story.
Damn her.
And then,
dare she?
I know. And the more I sat there, the more I realized my life had not changed in 5 years, and I knew she could help me. And I raised my hand. I said, I'm in. And everybody clapped, and the stress from my body released, and I smiled for the first time that weekend. And it changed. And I sat down and went, oh shit, how am I going to pay for this?
Yeah.
Within an hour, 25% of the money showed up. My brother sent me an email. My mother's tenant wanted to buy her furniture. She had passed, and he wanted to give me the money because we were struggling so much. Yeah. So total confirmation from God that I did the right thing. Yeah. And I borrowed money from my other friends and paid them back, and launched my business from that, because I wasn't, I was just in a totally different place. And someone told me I was amazing at follow-up, and I needed to teach people this. I had no idea that I was doing anything special, but I went from 0 to 6 figures in 14 months with this brand new coaching business because of the support I got, and because I had a follow-up system to tap back into that helped me rebuild my life and business. So the support was amazing.
You can't do it without, or you can, but you'll suffer. It'll take forever. Shame will bite you. Like, you'll make bad choices. Will make bad choices without support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So part of why I wanted to bring Debbie on is because I don't specialize in follow-up. This is not my thing, right? And Debbie has an event coming up that is about this, right? And so you don't have to have been broken down to understand the need for follow-up, but it dovetails, because through her breakdown story, beautiful business was birthed, right? Through my breakdown story, I've helped hundreds and hundreds of women with money. It's fascinating. We talked about the silver lining and the gifts of it, and how it's almost like our souls have orchestrate. That's how I believe our souls orchestrate these things. And so I just want to have Debbie talk about her event, because I'm going to be there. So I'm very excited. So why don't you share about your event and what it is and when and where and all that stuff?
So it's Power Up Your Follow-Up Live. Attract more clients without being salesy. And it's going to be May 3rd through 5th. So it's coming up very soon. And it's in Pleasanton, California. It's the San Francisco Bay Area. And at this event, one of my favorite things about my events, Therese, is that I love bringing people together in community.
Mhm.
And it's almost like instant when people get there, like they have each other's backs and there's collaboration going on and people are caring and loving each other up, and people become power partners and JV partners and clients and for life. And so that's just like an amazing part of the event. And I'm going to be introducing people to my 8-step follow-up system, which again helped me build several 6-figure businesses. And so you're going to walk away with how to powerfully share what you do, so people lean in and want to know more. We go into networking, we go into navigating concerns that come up, inviting people to work with you, systems, how to be more organized. So it's very, very chock filled, and people leave with tremendous value. So the link to go check it out is powerupyourfollowup.com/live.
I'll have you just put it in the comments. Yeah, just put it in the comments.
Okay.
So they can, yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. And who's going to be one of your guest speakers?
Okay, so I find that as I talk to clients and potential clients, one of the biggest things that stop people are their limiting beliefs and fears and stories that they create. And so I can share the most incredible follow-up, system in the world, but if you have these limiting beliefs that are stopping you, you're only going to get so far. So I've invited Therese to come speak about the inner game part, and I'm so excited you're going to be there. So why don't you share what you're going to be speaking about?
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to comment here.
Yeah. So you know me, what I do is I like to find where you're holding back and what's going to prevent. So Debbie's going to give this great system, how to follow it, but I'm going to go, and how are you not going to implement that because of your mindset? Where are you blocking that? So I'm going to teach people, like a lot of what you see me do in these Facebook Lives, I'm going to teach people that. So they're going to walk away able to implement. Lots of times, I've worked with other speakers where it's like, okay, let's make it stick. Let's figure out the blocks and how to navigate it. So, all right. So it's in the link.
I can't add anything. I can't comment.
Wait till it's done. Maybe wait till it's done.
When it's done, we'll put it in there.
Yeah. So my hope for you today is that hearing our story, because we're both successful, we've helped lots of people, we're on the other side of it. And I just kind of put together the 5 points. There's lots more, but my hope is that you get a little bit of hope, right? Because it's the lie is that something is wrong with you if you have this story, if you had a breakdown, if you struggled in any area. Don't let the lie define you. I love how Debbie was saying, like, look at the silver lining. And I'm just like, your soul is setting up. Your soul is setting something up here. And if you take the steps that I talked about, so remember, you're going to accept where you are. You're going to surrender. You're going to manage your emotions. That's the big one. Talk to people. Do not let shame hide you out. Take your actions and get support. Support is, I think, the biggest piece. Whether you show up at Debbie's event, reach out to one of us, but just please don't let this thing in your life define you or take you down. So do you want to say anything before we wrap up, my love?
Well, just looking back, I know exactly why that happened, because not only was born from it, but every time I share my story when I'm speaking, someone comes up to me and says, thank you so much for sharing your story. I've been through it and you've given me hope. And it's like, that's why I'm doing this. Absolutely. I know that's why it happened. And it gives people, hope for their future, that they can rebuild as well, that they're not going to be in that place forever. And to me, that's the most fulfilling part of everything that's happened to me.
Perfect. That's what we're here for. All right, love. So I'm so excited. It was fun to play with you, and I'll see you in 3 weeks at your event. Linda, Jody, Leah, everybody, thank you for showing up. Put your comments in, and if you're watching this later, we'll be back on. We'll check the comments. So, what are your takeaways? And what's one action you can do if you're in kind of a little struggle right now? What's one action you can do to move it forward? Maybe it's I got to accept it more. Maybe I got to reach out. Maybe I got to, like Debbie, I've got to remember to go hiking. Maybe like Therese, I got to get somebody praying for me and reminding me it's going to be all good, right? What's one thing you're going to do? And if there's any way I can support you, please reach out. So much love and peace and blessings. Bye now.
Thanks.